Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy 4th of July if you are in the United States. I'm glad you're here with me. Rita Hickman, body mind expert, shiatsu massage therapist, and I help women survive, heal, leave, cope, whatever it may be, with toxic and narcissistic relationships. I use Asian medicine and I help women get the brain fog cleared and the energy up and the body to heal itself, whether it's heart problems or fibro or rheumatoid. And we're really able to get you on a good path so that you can make choices and decisions that really are in your best interest. So the topic we're talking about today is anger. Now, if you're anything like me, I was raised, maybe unintentionally, in thinking that and believing that anger was very bad and that I didn't want to be one of those angry people. And part of that came from because I was around angry people and because they were in my life, and I felt like I didn't have any way to process through it, that I ended up taking that anger and pushing it down. And I ended up with a real judgment about those sorts of feelings. I was never going to be like that person. I was going to be the nicest person that I ever knew. I wasn't ever going to be mean to anybody. I was never going to, not have compassion for them, because in my mind, everybody that I came across was a 4-year-old little girl, was me when we were little. It took me quite a few years to realize that that's not necessarily all the people in the world. All the people in the world, many of them have tools and understandings, and they don't have the same mindset or thoughts about anger as I did. They were able to see it in either they were completely comfortable with it, or they saw it as something that was healthy and natural and normal. And so when my fear or anxiety or tension around anger was really having more of a control over my life than I wanted it to, I realized that was one of the things that I needed to work on. I needed to become more comfortable and more okay with other people's anger and my own anger. So I came across a post today, and it was about jujitsu. And the jujitsu post was about how when you practice jujitsu, it is a place where you're able to get out all of that anger and fear and insecurity, and you're able to move it through you. And you're able to use it in a way that makes you stronger and more balanced and healthy. And as a side effect, you don't end up expressing it inappropriately. So one of the first things I want you to think about is that anger is a normal response to when people are in conflict inside of themselves. When they feel conflicted and there's a lot of emotional energy that's pushed down, anger is the inevitable reaction. And whether we acknowledge it or whether we express it or not, it's still there. It's still a natural, normal human feeling, and it's one that helps us move things through. Now, that took a long time for me to wrap my brain around that, because I saw anger as just something that was inherently bad, as something that was destructive and horrible and awful, and the world needed more compassionate, loving people. Now, that may be true, and that is true, but a lot of the personal growth and self-help things that I ran across were always about people who expressed their anger too much, who were the narcissists. It was like advice for narcissists. It wasn't really good advice for codependents, for people who tended to be the victims of the narcissists. It wasn't good things like that, like anger is healthy. It's good to express it. Now, many women feel very guilty or ashamed of the fact that they get angry. And one of the good things about having a narcissist in your life is that, especially when you're an adult, is that a narcissist, it's almost impossible not to be angry at a narcissist. It's almost impossible. if you've got feelings of anger, a narcissist is going to bring them up and bring them out of you. It's going to pull it out of you. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to get angry. It's not a good thing to get angry and then judge it and put it under shame and suppress it and lodge it somewhere in your body, or to take on the people that you love and become, and victimize them. But it's normal just the way that it is, and it's important. So a narcissist will bring up all of that anger and hurt and insecurity and fear and frustration that probably came from things that happened to you a long time ago. And even if your life was fine, even if it was, it turned out good, you just had some, beliefs that were imprinted on you, it doesn't mean that pain and hurt and shame doesn't go back generations and you inherited some of that. You inherited the shame or the guilt or insecurity of your parents or of their parents and so on. So it doesn't mean that it's not there. And so the cool thing about having a narcissist is it takes the women who are extremely strong, who are extremely resilient, and it helps them work on their anger issues. It helps them become more comfortable with anger. It helps tap into those things that maybe we've denied and shoved down into our liver or kidneys or back or knees or neck or head. It takes those things and it pulls it out of us. Now the neat thing is when we tap into those old wounds, when we tap into those old hurts, and we're so angry and we're so hurt that we feel like we can't deny or suppress these things anymore, that's a good thing. Because that means when you move it, when it comes up, when you're able to express it in some way, then it gets out of your body. And on the other side, you become more peaceful, you become more insightful, you gain all sorts of wisdom and understanding that you didn't before. So what's the trick? The trick is you allow the anger to come up and then you choose how you want to move it through you. Could be jujitsu, could be a self-defense class, it could be riding your bike, it could be dancing, it could be standing up for yourself, it could be finding your voice, it could be walking out, it could be confronting or having the courage to speak your mind. It could be all of those things. And so what that anger does is it helps you heal. And the narcissist, their instability and their anger is so strong that it brings forth and brings out yours. You can't help but have a part of you. If you've got anger lodged in your body, you can't help to have a part of you that ends up scared, that ends up insecure, that ends up a little obsessive and paranoid. Now, if we stay there, if we stay stuck in the obsessive, paranoid, scared, insecure place, then yeah, we're going to spiral down. Things will get worse. But if we use this relationship as an opportunity to heal the things which have been buried, that you ignored, your family story, the things that make you sick, the things that are causing or contributing to your health problems. When you're able to bring those things up, when a narcissist is able to make you so mad or so upset that deep hurt is able to finally come through all of your wonderful coping skills and all of your defenses and all of the strength that you probably learned and were passed down and were gifts that you got. That strength is a gift, but it also is something that can get in the way of your healing. And so sometimes we need people who are meaner than us. Sometimes we need people who are stronger than us. We need people in our lives which push you, which push everybody to to look for another answer. Because it is true. When you hit bottom with things, now you're motivated enough. Now the unknown is less scary than the known. And it moves you in a positive, good direction. And that's why one of the reasons of not rescuing somebody or not saving somebody is a good thing. Being supportive and being loving, wonderful. But they have to get to the point where finally it's their voice in their head that says, I need to do something different. And you need to get to the point where it's your voice in your head that says, I have to do something different. Now, when you start learning, when you start working with your own anger and your own hurt, and let's say you do it by joining a self-defense class, what you'll find is your brain, your thinking will start to change. It's inevitable. You have no choice. When you're surrounded by people who think differently than you will start to think a little bit more like them. That's why it's good to surround ourselves with diverse people. So if you want to feel stronger mentally, emotionally, and physically, hang with people who are stronger mentally, emotionally, and physically, like with a class, for example, or a coaching program, or a mentor of some sort. Find somebody that has the skills that you want to have and start hanging around them. And the reason that we do that is usually because we feel we have no choice, that we're so angry and we're so hurt and we're so insecure and we're so frustrated that you have to deal with it in some way, in some very powerful, transformative, life-changing way. So if you're angry at a narcissist, congratulations. What an amazing opportunity. I'm so happy for you, because now it says you are ready to start dealing with the things which might not be yours, may have been handed from, generation to generation to generation, or maybe they are yours. Maybe you did have trauma when you were younger, some sort of emotional or family trauma. Maybe it is. And so getting angry or having someone who makes you angry isn't inherently bad. It depends upon your perspective on it. It depends upon how it motivates you to make changes. And maybe the lesson, maybe the motivation is, I don't need this in my life. This isn't worth my time or energy. Maybe that's the motivation. And then you start surrounding yourself with family and friends and people who get it, who give you the strength and the mentality and the support so you can make those changes, who've got your back. Because believe it or not, nobody can do this alone. You may think that you can, you may think that you should, either because you're ashamed or judgmental of your anger or your hurt. These are all the secrets that keep you controlled. How you feel inside are your secrets. And when you start realizing that we all have those secrets and that you don't have to hide them anymore, and that it is okay to express anger, because that anger is really you releasing your pain. And if it's got that judgmentalism and if it's got that shame around it, then it'll come up, you'll express yourself, and then you'll bury it again. You'll push it back down because it's not good, and you'll divide yourself again, and you'll betray yourself again and say, once again, this isn't who I'm supposed to be. This isn't, what a good woman does. But when you recognize it and you do something to move it, you're actually getting the blocks out of your way so your body and your mind can heal itself. So expressing it in a healthy way that moves you forward in the direction that you want to go, not just minimizing it or meditating it away or drugging it away or distracting it away, or even just talking it away. But when it encourages you and motivates you to take action, that's the real gift. So having a narcissist in your life can be exactly the motivation that you may need to evolve, to become a happy, well-balanced person, to not stay in that mindset thinking that you're helpless and hopeless and there's nothing you can do. A narcissist will push you to your edge so that you decide, I've got to do something. When your only choices are, I either have to figure it out or I have to self-destruct. I ask you to choose to figure it out. I ask you to choose to get support and help and love, to start being okay with the fact that you're angry and learning how to express it in different ways. Learning how to help yourself heal. And let me tell you, when you start releasing these things, when you start moving them, whether it's through tears or sweating or screaming or hitting softballs or jujitsu or firearms or, or letting out fireworks on the 4th of July, when you do that without judgment, without negativity, without shame, without even guilt, when you do that, you will get on the other side that healing that you're looking for. You won't feel so conflicted anymore because you heard that part of yourself that was hurting. You finally listened to it and honored it and respected it and said, you're hurting. I can tell. And finally, those old wounds, yours are just being passed down from your family, finally get to be healed. And when you're healed, you end up happy. And when you're happy, you end up healthy. And when you're healthy, you end up making a big impact on the world, because it doesn't stop with healing. If you're worried what happens after I'm empowered, you know what? New adventures come, new experiences, new things for you to engage in. You don't have to spend your whole life healing. And when you've done a good bulk of it, you can use all that reclaimed energy and use it for something cool. Use it to create. Use it to expand and go on adventures and explore. And you'll realize that all of that narcissist anger, because it's no longer in you, because you've moved it in a healthy way, it doesn't trigger you so much. It doesn't resonate so much with all of that hidden, latent anger. Because that's one of the things that having a narcissist does, is their anger and insecurities will, they'll vibrate physically. And your body will pick up that vibration and it will trigger those emotions. As a healer, one of the jokes in Asian medicine is when people make an appointment with a doctor, they're something like 20% better. And when they come to the office, they're 40% better. And after the appointment, they're 80% better. Because just the act of showing up, just the act of moving, of engaging, is what does most of the healing process. So, and when it's healed, when it's moved out of you, when you've gotten the insight, when you no longer have all that buried, latent fear and anger and hurt because something or someone was able to pull it out of you, then when somebody resonates on that anger level, there isn't much for you to resonate with. And you'll find that you don't attract people either, because they're not responding to that buried hurt that you have. You're sending off signals too all the time. And so when you send off the signals that, you know what, I don't have any of this buried stuff, I've worked through most of it, then guess what? That's the law of attraction. That's when other people say, hey, I kind of like that person. They're not dramatic. They're not over the top. They're pretty well balanced, and I like well balanced people. It's the wounded with the wounded that causes a lot of the problems. And most of us were raised with all sorts of crazy wounds. And if we weren't, then somewhere in our family it was, and it just got passed down. So I invite you to look at your situation, not from a helpless and a hopeless and a trapped and a learned submission sort of a way, but look at it as an opportunity to grow. There's this great book by Neil Donald Walsh, who did Conversations with the Soul. And there was a children's book that came out of it, and it was called The Soul and the Sun. And The Soul and the Sun was about God and an angel. And the angel said, I want to go back to Earth and learn about forgiveness. And God said, are you kidding? That's a really rough one. You don't want to do that. And the angel said, no, I really want to learn about forgiveness. And so this little angel was persistent, tugging on his robes and waving his arms, saying, no, this is what I want to do. Time would go by. God would be like, what do you want to do? I want to learn about forgiveness. So God finally said, fine, you want to learn about forgiveness? Go right ahead. But here's the deal. You can't learn about forgiveness until someone volunteers to do some sort of horrible, awful thing to you so that you can learn about forgiveness. And so God asked around, he asked all the angels, he said, hey, who wants to be this person? Who wants to be the bad guy? Who wants to be the narcissist? Who wants to be the one that helps people heal and helps people learn about forgiveness and love and compassion and depth and understanding? Who wants to be that? And so, one of the angels, because you always got one that's a risk taker, says, hey, I'll be the one to do that. I'll be that person. And they said, I just have one favor. And the favor is that when I do that horrible, awful, terrible, no good, miserable thing to you, and you're on the ground bleeding and crying and suffering, remember who I am. So that's kind of our job. When a narcissist or any other toxic person comes into our life, I'm not saying that you have to engage with them one-on-one. I'm not saying you have to be close to them or be their bestie or anything. What I'm saying is, when those opportunities arise, sometimes, not all the times, because that gets exhausting, but sometimes when you choose, you get to use it as an opportunity to grow. And when someone is able to bring up the feelings that you have buried so deep, that you have kept so under control, that you have mastered the art of being amazing. When you find somebody that pulls that out of you, that can be a real gift, because it means that you're moving something that was never meant to stick around, never meant to be in there. It was meant to come and it was meant to go. Okay? So, if you can start looking at situations as opportunities instead of feeling victimized, you're going to end up in a much better place, because then it will motivate you to start doing healthier things, and you'll start to learn what a evolved, zen, mature woman behaves like, and you start to find others that can support that and mentor you through it, and you start to become someone that can help other people who are struggling to get out of that prison of their own wounds and their own inner conflict, okay? So, if you're interested in a little bit more work, if you're ready to dive deep, I do very laser-focused packages. We got a couple options. We got a narcissist book. The link is above. We've got a narcissist group coaching program that I do, and I'll put the link in tomorrow. I'm going to alternate between the book and the group in the links. And or you can contact me. We can do a coaching session, and then if we're a good fit, we can do a call that says, let's come up with a strategic plan. Because I have helped women leave jobs and find better ones, leave spouses and find better ones, stand up for themselves and change the relationships that they're in, change themselves so that they're no longer fearful and feeling victimized. The process that I work with has been around for forever, and it's based on indigenous medicines, and it's based on the cutting edge body-mind science, which is off the hook. And you gain the insights and understandings and support and new thought and new behaviors, and you get support for it to get you through there. So I do some laser-focused one-on-one coaching. So I think that's it for today. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I hope you have a wonderful July 4th and have some fun getting rid of some of that anger. Maybe shooting off fireworks, doing something that makes a lot of noise, makes a lot of smoke. Or if you're concerned, because fireworks can be dangerous and sometimes people have stuff around that, which is cool too, do something that's energetic, something that allows you to move the energy that maybe has been stuck and still needs to heal, and do it in a way that's loving and a way that is non-judgmental to you or anybody else, okay? Cool. So I think that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.